The first thing I remember is the quiet weight of my head falling sideways, and the sudden realization that I had fallen asleep during the most important meeting of my career. But what shocked me even more was where my head had landed, on my boss's shoulder. Before we begin, if you believe that kindness and second chances can change someone's life, please take a moment to like this video, share it with someone who needs hope today, and subscribe to the channel. Your support helps keep stories like this alive. My name is Caldwell, and for most of my life I believed exhaustion was just part of surviving. I was 32 years old, living in a small, tired apartment in Columbus, Ohio, working at a logistics company where the fluorescent lights hummed louder than the people. Life had been moving like a treadmill stuck at a speed just slightly faster than I could handle. Most of my coworkers thought I was quiet. A few probably thought I was rude. But the truth was simpler than that. I was just tired. Not the kind of tired that disappears after a weekend or a long nap. The kind that lives in your bones. Every morning started at 4:30 a.m., not because I liked waking up early, but because my younger sister Hannah depended on me. 3 years earlier, our parents had died in a car accident outside Dayton. Hannah had been 17 then, scared and suddenly alone except for me. I dropped everything, grad school, plans, dreams, and moved her to Columbus so she could finish high school. Now she was in college, studying nursing and working part-time at a diner. But even with her income, most of the responsibility still fell on me. Rent, food, books, car repairs, medical bills from the anxiety attacks she sometimes had after the accident. I worked 2 jobs to keep everything afloat. The logistics company during the day and a warehouse loading shift 3 nights a week. Sleep had become something fragile, something I borrowed instead of owned. The meeting where everything changed happened on a rainy Tuesday afternoon. Our company had just signed a contract with a major retail chain, and the entire department had been summoned into the conference room. 20 people sat around a long polished table while rain tapped softly against the windows. At the head of the table was our department director, Olivia Grant. Olivia was the kind of boss people whispered about. Not because she was cruel, but because she was impossibly composed. Tall, sharp-eyed, always dressed like someone who had never spilled coffee on herself in her life. Most of us assumed she never made mistakes. I had only spoken to her twice in 3 years. The presentation dragged on for hours. Charts, deadlines, logistics projections. My stomach was empty except for the cheap gas station coffee I'd gulped at noon. The air in the room felt heavy, warm, hypnotic. I told myself to stay awake, just focus, just keep listening. But exhaustion is patient. It waits for the smallest crack. I remember the moment my vision blurred slightly. My eyelids felt heavier than they should have. I straightened in my chair, trying to look alert, nodding occasionally as if every spreadsheet made perfect sense. And then the world simply went quiet. My head tilted. My body surrendered. And before I knew it, I was asleep. I don't know how long it lasted, maybe 2 minutes, maybe 10. But when awareness returned, it came slowly, like surfacing through water. I felt warmth against my cheek and something soft beneath my temple, a shoulder. For a split second, my brain couldn't process what had happened. Then panic hit. My eyes opened, and the first thing I saw was Olivia Grant sitting beside me, still focused on the presentation screen at the front of the room. My head was resting against her shoulder. My entire body froze. Embarrassment flooded through me so fast I felt dizzy. I jerked upright, nearly knocking over my chair. My heart hammered like a drum in my chest. The room was still focused on the meeting. No one seemed to notice. Except Olivia. She turned slightly toward me, her expression calm and unreadable. Then she leaned just close enough for me to hear her voice. "You can sleep if you want." The words were quiet, almost gentle. I stared at her, convinced I had misheard. Sleep? In the middle of a meeting, on my boss's shoulder? But her expression didn't carry even a hint of sarcasm. No irritation, no humiliation, just something else. Concern. I shook my head quickly, whispering that I was fine, forcing myself to sit straight for the rest of the meeting. But my mind was no longer on supply routes or delivery metrics. It was on one question. Why hadn't she woken me? When the meeting finally ended, people filed out of the room in clusters, discussing deadlines and upcoming projects. I tried to slip out quietly, hoping to escape the moment entirely. But Olivia's voice stopped me. "Marcus." My stomach dropped. I turned slowly. She was gathering her notes, calm as ever. Then she looked up and studied me for a moment in silence. "You look like someone who hasn't slept in days," she said. I opened my mouth to deny it, but the lie died before it reached my tongue. Instead, I shrugged weakly. "Just a busy week." She didn't look convinced. "Come with me," she said. My mind immediately jumped to worst-case scenarios. A lecture. A formal warning. Maybe even HR. Instead, she led me down the hallway to a small break room overlooking the parking lot. The rain outside had turned the asphalt silver. She poured 2 cups of coffee and handed one to me. Then she said something that stunned me. "You've been doing the work of 2 people for months." I blinked. How did she know that? She sat across from me, folding her hands calmly. "I noticed things, Marcus." She explained that she reviewed team metrics every week. My workload numbers were unusually high. My overtime hours were double everyone else's. And recently, my productivity had started to dip slightly. Not because I was lazy, because I was exhausted. Then she asked a question no one at work had ever asked before. "What's going on in your life?" For a moment I hesitated. Workplaces aren't places where you spill your life story, but something about her tone made the truth feel safe. So I told her, about my parents, about Hannah, about the second job, about the nights when sleep lasted 3 hours if I was lucky. She didn't interrupt once. When I finished, the room felt strangely quiet. Then Olivia leaned back slightly and sighed. "You shouldn't have to carry all of that alone." Those words landed somewhere deep in my chest. For years I had convinced myself that surviving meant handling everything silently. But she wasn't finished. "Starting next week," she said, "your schedule changes." My heart skipped. Instead of panic, she explained something unexpected. The company had been planning to open a new project management role for the retail contract, someone who could coordinate between departments and reduce workload on the team. She slid a folder across the table. Inside was a promotion offer. The position came with a significant salary increase and normal hours. No more overtime. I stared at the paper, unable to speak. "Why me?" I finally asked. She gave a small smile. "Because the guy who falls asleep during meetings isn't lazy. He's someone who's been fighting too hard for too long." That moment changed my life more than I realized. Within 3 months, things stabilized. I left the warehouse job. Hannah focused fully on nursing school. For the first time in years, I slept 8 hours without setting an alarm. But the biggest change wasn't the promotion. It was the reminder that compassion still existed in places where I never expected it. 6 months later, Hannah graduated at the top of her class. I sat in the auditorium watching her walk across the stage, remembering the scared teenager who had once believed her future was over. After the ceremony, she hugged me so tightly I thought my ribs might crack. "You saved my life, Marcus," she whispered. But the truth was simpler. Someone had saved mine first. And it happened during a meeting, when I accidentally fell asleep on my boss's shoulder. Before this story ends, I want to ask something special. If you've ever had a moment when someone showed you unexpected kindness, write the word kindness in the comments. I read every single one. Years later, I still work at the same company. Olivia eventually moved up to regional director, but every now and then she jokes about the day the quiet employee used her shoulder as a pillow. And strangely, that embarrassing moment became the beginning of everything getting better, because sometimes the smallest acts of understanding arrive exactly when someone is about to break, and sometimes all a person really needs is someone who says it's okay to rest. If this story touched your heart even a little, please take a moment to like the video, share it with someone who might need encouragement today, and subscribe to the channel for more emotional stories like this. Because kindness, even the quiet kind, can change someone's entire life.